He prepares to kick off for the Ottawa Rough Riders. And back to receive are Howard Fields and Tony Champion. In the league standings, the Rough Riders with a 2-point edge over Hamilton. A win today would clinch their first Eastern title in 7 years. Fields starts out from his 4-yard line as this battle for first place is underway. He returns the ball to the 30-yard line, stopped there by Kevin Gray. Offensively, the Hamilton Tiger Cats have Johnny Shepard in the lineup. Ken Hobart will direct the attack, and they have Scott Colley running from one slot back position. They had hoped to have Rufus Crawford back in the lineup, but he is still troubled by injury, and they have had to juggle some of the people up front along that offensive line. 4 receivers to the right side, the fake and the draw play, and Hobart will try and carry the ball. He has a pickup of 3 yards. Of course, each time he carries the football, he adds to his league-leading quarterbacking total.
Pretty tough defensive line there. Lloyd Lewis, their nominee for the most valuable player this year, with a good mobile defensive line. Linebackers with a lot of experience. Sovieta and Towns will been there a long time, and Washington, the guy that will probably be parked all afternoon with Hobart. Deep backs playing together real good. Chris Ziegler leads with 5 interceptions, with Barden and Meacham, I should say, each having 4.
Hobart throwing to Stapler for a first down out to the 42-yard line. Steve Stapler with the Hamilton Tiger Cats via San Diego. Ken Hobart's passing statistics not overly impressive this year, but the first-year Hamilton quarterback has certainly run the ball effectively. He pitches to Johnny Shepard, trying to get to the outside, and Shepard was fortunate to get back to the line of scrimmage as he was pursued by Ricky Barton and Rick Sovieta.
You know, Don, sometime early in a ball game like this, you just get the impression that both teams are really ready to play. And watching them in their calisthenics before the game and right up until game time, they really look like they're ready to play. And it's been evidenced out here. They're really going after each other.
Shepard picked up 1 on that last play. Hobart now opting to run with the ball. He gets 1 block trying to get outside. He fumbles the football, and who's got it? They rule that the Hamilton Tiger Cats managed to recover after the ball bounced away from quarterback Ken Hobart.
There's a guy right there that he likes to make first downs, but when he sees this young man running with the football, he's got to have a twinge of wonder whether this kid can sustain this pounding that he's getting when he does carry the football. He's big and strong, but watch him get closed in on right here by Towns and Meacham and just a host of black shirts, and he gets the ball knocked loose, but fortunately they recover.
That forces the Ticats into a punting situation, and Bernie Ruoff kicking to Sigler and Catterbone. It's taken by Sigler on the run. He broke 1 tackle and then is down at the 34-yard line. So that's where the Ottawa Rough Riders will scrimmage 1st and 10 with 12:34 remaining in this opening quarter.
We wanted to get off the field. It's regular 40, Kenny, regular odd, same as we saw. I don't know what you saw in the secondary.
John Salavantis, the offensive line coach, doing some work at that Hamilton bench with his troops.
Early in every ball game, Don, they try to get a reading on what's going to happen, and if a team is smart, they'll come out originally and try some stuff that the other team hasn't seen before and try to disrupt their thinking and their scouting plan, and then get back to the more normal things that they do best.
Hamilton has not been a big blitzing team this season. We may see them blitz a little more often today. J.C. Watt trying to roll out and find some room. His receivers were covered, and Ben Zambiazzi, the middle linebacker, and Howard Fields came over to make the stop.
Well, J.C. Watts is the guy that's going to have to carry him again. Lester Brown's running in critical stages of the ball game is going to be important, though. They've got to sustain. The receivers Hudson had a big day last week with 10 receptions. Other than that, this is the first week that whole football team has been together for 2 weeks in a row, and Joe Moss is pretty happy about this. Their offensive line, a veteran line, ready to play.
That was a key point that Moss emphasized yesterday, that into their 15th game, the first time they have had the same lineup for back-to-back games. Watt's pass, intended for Lester Brown, is incomplete, so the Ottawa Rough Riders stall in their first offensive series, and they are forced into a punting situation.
An interesting thing there early in the ball game as Watts rolled out, too. Zambiazzi was the guy that ended up with the tackle. Just like Washington will end up on Hobart most of the time. Once they get out of that pocket, that middle linebacker is going to have to be sleeping with that quarterback.
An 11-man rush by Hamilton as Ken Clark will be booting the ball to Paul Bennett, the lone punt return man, taking it at his own 32-yard line. And Bennett is grabbed by the arm by Wayman Aldridge and hauled down at the 39-yard line. A 42-yard kick by Ken Clark and a return of 7 yards by Paul Bennett. You indicated earlier, Leo, that the punting game could be a factor this afternoon. Two of the best, Ken Clark and Bernie Ruoff, facing each other in this ball game.
And not only that, Don, but two of the best field goal kickers, too. Bernie can kick that ball as a field goal, and Dorsey is leading with field goals, has the longest one kicked so far this year, 55 yards against Saskatchewan.
Hand off to John Shepard. He finds a hole up the middle and has a burst of about 9 yards, stopped by Greg Marshall from his defensive end position. If they could get Johnny Shepard returning to the form of his rookie season, they could really be a factor along the ground late in the year.
Now, this is very important, too, because as I said in the pregame show, that it's tough to ask a young quarterback to sustain a drive on passes. But if you got Shepard carrying that football with some authority, they've got a chance.
He has been out of the lineup as the result of injuries throughout most of this 1985 season. He gets the call again on 2nd and 1. And that short yardage offense was stopped just shy of the 50-yard line. The placement of the football will be extremely important here. And it will be decision time as well for Al Bruno, whether to gamble if it is 3rd down. And I think they are going to be short. And Bruno is going to take no chances.
Well, you know, it's really funny. They asked that Hobart kid to make a lot of yards. He's, 3rd in the league in terms of rushing. He's a big, strong guy, but they've got a 3rd and 1 to go, and then they give a ball to a handoff situation that can get him trouble as far as back in the backfield is concerned. Let that kid quarterback sneak it. He'll get it in there for a yard.
Ruoff was rushed on the 3rd down kick. It's taken by Chris Ziegler. Ziegler trying to go wide. And he loses yardage on his attempted return after a kick of only 28 yards by Bernie Ruoff. He was kicking into the wind, but the wind doesn't appear to be all that strong and should not have hindered Ruoff as much as the yardage on that 3rd down punt would suggest. Defensively, Hamilton lines up this way, a pretty solid front four. They put a lot of pressure, particularly from the outside with Grover Covington. The linebackers don't blitz that much, but they drop back to assist the deep backs in preventing against the pass, and they lead the league with 39. Lester Brown tried to get outside, and he is stopped by Covington and Ezerins. We had a visit with Leo Ezerins prior to the game. He still makes his off-season home in Winnipeg. He weighs in at 230 pounds, and Leo, he said that at one time he was up close to 245.
I'll tell you one thing, he's a very healthy-looking linebacker at 6'3" or 4" and weighing 235 pounds. And he's having a good year, too. I think he's a lot happier now. He said when he was out in Winnipeg that he spent too much time with off-field activities. Now he's all football.
Penalty flag as J.C. Watts took too long in getting that ball snapped, and the time count violation will be assessed against the Ottawa quarterback, J.C. Watts.
I noticed one thing on that first play, excuse me.
Ross Perrier, the man in charge of the officiating crew this afternoon at Lansdowne Park. And it will be 1st and 15 now for Ottawa. 2nd and 15, excuse me. Throwing deep He was looking for Bruce, and Paul Bennett, who leads the league in interceptions, was coming across from his free safety spot and very nearly intercepted that J.C. Watts throw.
That I was going to mention before, that on that first play, Zambiazzi from his middle linebacker spot stunted and went into a blitz, and that is very uncustomary for the defense as far as Hamilton's concerned. Early in the ball game, I was kidding Covington and some of that front four before the game, saying, I imagine you're going to blitz one time today and shock everybody, and they laughed and they said, well, if we do blitz one time, it will be a shock, because they've been carrying the load on that front four, going all by themselves.
Again, Hamilton with that 11-man rush on the third down kick by Ken Clark, and Paul Bennett brings the ball back into Ottawa territory at the 53-yard line. So on the exchange of kicks, Hamilton is improving field position, and they will have a 1st and 10 with 8:40 remaining in this opening quarter. And it's still scoreless at Lansdowne Park in Ottawa in this first-place battle between the Ticats from Hamilton and the Rough Riders from the nation's capital. 1st and 10. The ball is at the 52 of the Ottawa Rough Riders. First time that either side has penetrated the other team's half of the field, and the Hamilton Tiger Cats are forced to back up a good 15 yards under the pressure of Lloyd Lewis.
On this play, what they're doing is they're getting 3 men on the outside to the wide side of the field and just cutting down any possibility that Hobart has to run to the wide side of the field. What they're saying to him is, if you're going to run, you're going to have to run it into the short side. You're not going to be able to run the wide side.
2nd and 24. Hobart throwing deep for DiPietro. He makes the catch. That ball seemed to hang up there for the longest time, and 3 Rough Rider defenders were converging on DiPietro, but the ball got to him before they did.
I'll tell you, some days you're just lucky. As you say, Don, he sprinted out to his left and went back to a individual shot to DiPietro going to the sidelines, and it just hung up there, and there was 3 black shirts that bracketed the football, but they're all playing the man and didn't look at the ball, and it just fell into DiPietro's hands for a big gain.
Well, they missed Rocky DiPietro, their veteran slot back, when he was out of the lineup for several games this season as a result of injury. He makes the big catch for a first down. Penalty flag on the play as Hobart decides to run, and he is stopped at the 35-yard line. Ralph Dixon made the tackle, but the call will be going against the Hamilton Tiger Cats. It appears as though it will be brought back by a holding violation. Number 76, Lloyd Lewis, the Shenley nominee of the Ottawa Rough Riders, was also honored in a pregame ceremony as the club's most valuable player, and he was presented with the Miller Lite Most Valuable Player Award, selected by the writers and broadcasters who cover the Ottawa Rough Riders. The award was introduced in 1982. Little swing pass to Johnny Shepard. A couple of good moves by the Livingston University product for a first down to the 35-yard line. Well, correct that. It isn't a first down with that penalty yardage that was tacked on as the result of the holding call in the previous play.
I see Hobart come back and just swing it out to Shepard, and Shepard dangles to the sidelines just long enough to let that blocking form and then cuts back behind that wall of blockers. An excellent job of timing on that running play.
It was a gain of 13. It will be 2nd and 7. Over the middle, and the pass is complete to Scott Coffey. He will be very close to the first down. They spot the ball right at the 35-yard line, or make it the 30-yard line, so the field goal unit will come into the ball game. Bernie Ruoff will be attempting a field goal from 37 yards away. Backup quarterback Tom Porras holds. He appeared to have a little difficulty with that snap from center, and Ruoff's kick is wide, and Ricky Barton concedes a single point. So the Hamilton Tiger Cats are first on the board with 5:40 remaining in this opening quarter here at Lansdowne Park. The second last weekend of regular season play, the field goal attempt by Bernie Ruoff, applying a little body English, trying to coax that football to go between the uprights, but it sailed wide, and the end result is a single point. First and 10, Ottawa scrimmaging from the 35-yard line. Pass incomplete. Raymond Aldridge collided with Les Brown at that cornerback position. There's a penalty flag on the play. Interference charged against the Ticats. Al Bruno complaining to the sideline official that the receiver ran into his defensive back, and I think he's probably claiming it should be offensive pass interference.
Well, I think he's got a point, and when you consider the thing that was right on the line of scrimmage, and really a defensive back should be able to knock down a receiver right on the line of scrimmage.
However, the officials have the final say. They rule an Ottawa first down at the 40-yard line. Watts is chased around and upset by Mike Walker. Again, it's that front four pressure.
Well, you're going to see a stunt here between Walker and Covington on the outside, but that's about the most that you'll see as far as any kind of pressure is concerned from blitzes. But they get the job done with those four guys down, and they've done it all year long. It's amazing.
Well, Walker made the tackle, but it was the contain from defensive end David Sobe that forced J.C. Watts back. Second and 16. Watts throwing deep, looking for Bruce. It's over his head. He was being covered by Mark Streeter. There's also a penalty flag on the play up in the vicinity of the 50-yard line. And I believe interference again against Hamilton.
Well, Al Bruno is really beside himself here now. He's thinking that he's really being taken advantage of, and he's yelling at the officials.
The ball's not in the air.
Not nearly as calm and relaxed as he was yesterday. He was joking with the media at the pregame press conference, talking about the reaction of most people early in the season. Nobody thought that either Hamilton or Ottawa had much of a chance to finish in first place in the Eastern Conference.
It is kind of ironic that both teams are playing for first place.
Jim Reed gets the call to the 50-yard line. 6'3", 230 pounds out of Wilfrid Laurier. He is stopped by middle linebacker Ben Zambiazzi.
There's Coach Moss on the sidelines, looking very relaxed. Wait till they call a couple penalties on his boys.
In his rookie season as head coach of the Ottawa Rough Riders, taking a team that finished in last place a year ago into a contending position for #1 spot in the East in 1985. Penalty flag is down again, and so is quarterback J.C. Watts. Mitchell Price and Grover Covington will be credited with the sack, but there is also a flag.
Well, that's a real compliment as far as the Hamilton team is concerned, that they have to be held when they're only sending 4 guys, but here they come again, just 4 people rushing, and 65 makes the tackle, Mitchell Price.
And the holding call naturally is declined by the Hamilton Tiger Cats. So once again, Ottawa is forced to kick. Howard Fields and Paul Bennett. 2 men back this time for this third down kick by Ken Clark. A good kick it is. Bennett goes back to his own 11-yard line. He gets the seam. He's going to go all the way. Paul Bennett has returned it all the way for a touchdown, taking that 48-yard Ken Clark punt at his own 11-yard line and going the distance for the major score.
Al Bruno gives a little bit of that's the way to go, boys. You know you can do it all the time. Let them call penalties on us, we'll still score.
A 98-yard touchdown return by Paul Bennett. They set up the return, and it developed beautifully as Paul Bennett found that seam. A good block there by Zambiazzi, and Bennett was gone. Ken Clark, the last man with a shot at him.
What he did with Clark, and Clark is not accustomed to making too many tackles as a punter. What he did with Clark is he played him toward the middle just a little bit and then outran him to the sidelines and took it right down the sidelines for the touchdown.
And the point after by Bernie Ruoff makes it an 8-0 ball game. There's no play in football more exciting than a punt return.
I'll tell you, that's an alert job by all of those offensive blockers for the Hamilton Tiger Cats. And on the other side of the field, there's nothing that would peeve off a disciplinarian and a guy that's a stickler for detail like Joe Moss any more than a big punt return like that.
Well, Paul Bennett is having an outstanding season with the Hamilton Tiger Cats. You and Ron Lancaster suggested a few weeks ago that this appears to be a reborn Paul Bennett. When he left the Winnipeg Blue Bombers to return east, a lot of people thought that maybe he was finished. But this year, Bennett leads the league in interceptions, and the man who holds the career yardage record in the CFL for punt returns adds 98 more to that total.
Boy, he's had a great year so far. And I think I pointed out, Don, that when he left Winnipeg, I thought for a moment or for a couple games there that he'd lost his confidence completely. He didn't look like the same kid physically even. But talking to him down there in the locker room before this game, he looks healthy and well and 196 pounds and really is putting in a performance again this afternoon.
So it will be 1st and 10 for the Ottawa Rough Riders from their own 30-yard line, and J.C. Watts has yet to complete a forward pass. You suggested, Leo, that Watts would have to run some sprint action, some play action to upset that Hamilton defensive unit. So far, he has not had any success.
Well, you've got to throw off of running actions against these guys to freeze that big rush by the front four and to get those linebackers held on the line of scrimmage. Now, you just can't drop back like this because they'll keep coming after you. They clutter everything up down there with the
Catterbone, the intended receiver, and Donovan Rose was defending against him, so J.C. Watts is still looking for his first completion of the day.
Well, there's Coach Bruno on the side now. He's got his favorite pupil there sitting on his right, Hobart. He's telling Hobart, you see number 19 there? His name is Shepard. Give him the ball once in a while. He can run with it.
Well, the fortunes of the Hamilton Tiger Cats definitely took a turn for the better with the arrival of Ken Hobart. He joined the team 4 games into the season. They struggled through the first 4 with Jeff Tedford and Peter Gales, and J.C. Watts is certainly struggling this afternoon under the pressure of that front 4, led by Mitchell Price. It's amazing the amount of pressure these 4 exert without that blitz coming from the linebacking contingent.
Well, they take so much pride in saying that all we need is the front 4. And look at Mitchell Price. He just goes right past those would-be blockers. And look at 61 is in there also. Mike Walker. They just overpower that offensive line. And this isn't the first time they've done it. They've done it all year.
Ken Clark's 3rd down kick. Bounces away from Howard Fields and rolls out of bounds. Well, it would appear that Al Bruno decided to give Paul Bennett a bit of a rest after the 98-yard return the last time, because he had number 16 Howard Fields and number 17 Wayne Lee back there on that punt return combination. Usually Bennett is back there.
You know, the funny thing too, Don, as we were talking to Paul Bennett, you were exchanging pleasantries with him about Winnipeg and his stay out there and his life out there and so on. But he was saying, I think I could play a couple more years if I just don't have to return punts. And then he comes out here and runs one back for a touchdown.
And a 98-yard touchdown it was as the Hamilton Tiger Cats lead by a score of 8-0. Hobart throwing deep for Stapler. Incomplete. And again, that ball seemed to hang in the air for an eternity.
Boy, he had the middle wide open, and if he would have let him a little bit more in the middle and a little bit lower trajectory on it, it looked to me like it could have been a touchdown. But it, as you say, fluttered up there a little bit too long. See, now, if he would have let him a little bit more in the middle, away from the defender, he could have broke to the middle and outran that defender, and no question would have been a touchdown.
2nd and 10. Hamilton from the 31. Underthrown this time was Tony Champion. Lloyd Lewis was applying pressure from his defensive end position. So Hamilton will be forced to kick it away with 1:13 remaining in this opening quarter.
Now this is what they're doing on the outside. See the linebacker coming, number 20 Towns, from the outside from his inside position, and he's stunning to the outside just in case they roll out to that side. He's the contained man, and he's the guy that wasn't blocked on the thing, made Hobart rush the throw, and it was ineffective.
Lloyd Lewis putting that inside charge on, enabling Towns to come from the outside. Sigler on the punt return crosses midfield into Hamilton territory as Pat Brady and Dave Graffey were there for the tackle. Again, that kick by Bernie Rua only traveled 28 yards, substantially below his seasonal average. And the wind doesn't appear to be that much of a factor.
I was just going to point that out, Don. I'm looking up there at the flag, and it doesn't look like it's blowing that hard, but you can't tell in some of these stadiums. It might be blowing harder than we really think it is, but it's fluttering up there.
The best field position Ottawa has enjoyed this afternoon. They trail by 8. J.C. Watts completes his first pass to Bruce, and he gets all the way down to the 3-yard line. Donovan Rose finally forced him out of bounds. Mike Catterbone was down there with Bruce, attempting to throw a block to get him into the end zone.
Now J.C. Watts says, the heck with that taking a lot of time. I'm just going to go back and shoot it downfield. And Bruce went right down the slot and split the zone. And Paul Bennett overshot the thing, or undershot it, really. And he got down within shouting distance of the goal line on it.
So Bruce, who picked up 50 yards on that J.C. Watts pass, goes to the bench along with Wayman Aldridge as the Ottawa Rough Riders send out their short yardage offense for this 1st and goal from the 3.5. Lester Brown fights his way to the 1.
Lester Brown goes from his position with Reed, number 32, leading him into there, and Lester does a good job of knifing through here and getting it down to the 1-yard line. Both hands on that ball, which is always a good idea down here. You can't cough that thing up. Around the 1-yard line now, down 2 quarterback sneaks will take it in.
All sorts of movement at the line of scrimmage.
Now we're going to have to wait and see what happened. Oh, it was against Ottawa, and well, I'll tell you, Joe Moss has got a right to be angry over this one.
Kevin Powell, who plays that left tackle spot, stood up, and the illegal procedure call brings the ball back to the 6.
Well, you see a little bit of movement there. Well, actually, Powell come off the line of scrimmage pretty strong here. Here's where J.C. Watts is dangerous, though. He's got the ball on about the 6-yard line. He can roll out. He's got the option of throwing or running, and he's a pretty good dangler himself to get in the end zone.
2nd and goal from the 6-yard line. He'll try and throw it. Now he'll run. He won't get there. He is stopped at the 2-yard line. And that is also the final play of the opening quarter. So it will be decision time for Joe Moss when we return for quarter 2 to Lansdowne Park. We hope you'll be joining us for Grey Cup 85. All the excitement from Montreal, including the Shenley Awards, the Grey Cup Parade, and the big game itself, along with our pregame show. Joe Moss and Al Bruno, both hoping that their teams will be there. At the moment, Al Bruno's Ticats leading by a score of 8-0 as Dean Dorsey on this 3rd and 2 play goes for the field goal, and he puts it through. Joe Moss didn't waste any time in deciding to go for 3 rather than gamble on 3rd and 2 from the 2-yard line.
Well, with that 2nd and 5 or 6 down there with a guy like J.C. Watts, what I used to like to do when we had a kid like Theismann was go into a balanced formation, take a look at the defense, and the side that they give you the less defense, just have a simple sprint pass to that side where you roll to that side and have the option of running or throwing off the thing. But on that specific occasion, they just took J.C. Watts and dropped him straight back, and I think he's at a disadvantage on that position on the field on a straight drop back pass.
Well, Ottawa used to run that play so effectively with Russ Jackson when he was the dominant figure among quarterbacks in the Eastern Conference.
Actually, what they did with Jackson, they'd fake that guy off tackle, he'd put the ball on the hip, and nobody could ever find it.
A beautiful autumn afternoon in the nation's capital. A temperature of 12 degrees, and the bright colors that are in abundance on the trees around Lansdowne Park disappearing somewhat from what they were a couple of weeks ago. The leaves are falling to the ground. Howard Fields on this kickoff return, and Fields is stopped at the 42-yard line. So the Ottawa Rough Riders gain 7 yards in opting to, or the Ticats, I should say, gain 7 yards in opting to have Ottawa kick off following that Dean Dorsey field goal rather than scrimmage from the 35. It will be 1st and 10 from the 42. Tony Champion comes wide to the left, Stapler out to the right. And Hobart rolls to his right, drills it in there to Scott Colley for a 1st down. He is taken out of bounds at the 46-yard line. Hobart, by his own admission, is a very poor practice quarterback, but in the game, he makes things happen.
Well, you see the double team there with Reed finishing up on the contained man on the outside. Just an excellent job of setting up the contained man, the defensive end on the play, and then coming with Reed from the outside after a motion and just cutting him down. And it allowed Hobart to have the time to throw the ball.
Johnny Shepard for another 1st down as he fights his way to the 35-yard line. Stopped by Ralph Dixon, the defensive back.
Just a little draw play to Johnny Shepard, and again, we talked about this before the ball game. If this guy can make gains like this is going to really help their football team. I referred before to Reed. I was talking about Dave Graffey, number 32. Got my 32s mixed up there.
Draw play again with Shepard, but this time it doesn't work as Mark Smith reacted. And there is also a penalty flag. Holding will be the call against Hamilton. 8-3 is the score in favor of the Ticats with 13:23 remaining in this 1st half. Referee Ross Perrier explaining the options to Greg Marshall. The holding penalty is declined, so that takes the ball back to the 39-yard line, and it will be 2nd and 14. Going deep for Champion. That ball was a good 5 yards over his head.
This is what they're doing on the wide side of the field. You see the 2 outside men here, Sovieta, number 75, and Marshall, number 66. Marshall comes out wide, and Sovieta goes to the inside and draws the block of the tackle. But there's no chance for Hobart to run out this side with number 66 coming in a containing position there.
So Bernie Ruoff will attempt a 46-yard field goal. It's wide, and Ricky Barton is going to concede a single point with 12:43 remaining in this 1st half here at Lansdowne Park. And it's now 9-3 in favor of the Ticats.
Get a linebacker that came with him. That was the last play we threw. 451 double cross.
I didn't see anybody in there in the middle.
No, we're talking about. I think someone got someone. I think someone came in. You take care of your guy.
Again, John Salamantis working with his offensive line, in particular, Mike Dirks. Mike Hudson makes the catch at the 41. He played such an important role last week in that very big win over the Montreal Concords. And his first catch of the afternoon is a big one for the Ottawa Rough Riders.
This is great concentration. He goes up in the air after that ball, too. And I was really anxious to see him come again and see whether it's just an accident that he was so good, as you see number 77 come in there and just give J.C. Watts a little bit of a shot there after he got done with the ball. But Hudson might be another Tony Gabriel.
The pass is intercepted by Lester Brown. Lester Brown is looking for some blocking help out there, and Donovan Rose kept backing away. And Lester Brown goes all the way down to his own 5-yard line. Lester was trying to go to his left. He was looking for Donovan Rose, I think, to throw a block, and Donovan Rose kept backing away from him.
Yeah, but Lester's saying to himself right here, why in the world did I do that? I know better than that. I had a good interception. It's my 10th interception of the year, which really ties me with Paul Bennett. Why in the world would I do something like that? Takes it all the way back to the 5-yard line. CJC rolling out to his left, again getting pressured by Walker from the outside. And Lester Brown goes right in front of Barassi right there, makes the interception, and looks things up and stumbles and fumbles all the way back to the 5-yard line.
The pass was intended for Steve Stapler, incomplete. The league record for most interceptions by a team in one season established by the British Columbia Lions in 1983. The Ottawa Rough Riders have intercepted as a team in one season 40 passes. So the total put together by the Hamilton Tiger Cats this year is equal to the second best ever in the history of the Canadian Football League. The draw play with Johnny Shepard. And Shepard will be very close to a first down.
Well, that would be a big first down if he makes this one, because they're down there right around the goal line, and getting out of there is a good effort at this stage of the ball game.
It is a first down for the Hamilton Tiger Cats. They spotted the ball at the 18-yard line. First and 10 from that point. Sideline pattern to Champion, and that will be close to another first down. They rule that he went out of bounds at the 31s. They moved the yardstick again.
Well, I think they're still playing Hobart as being right-handed, and look at the black shirts over the defense's or the offense's right side. They're getting in a position every time where they can shut down his rollout and put pressure on him from the outside to the right side.
First and 10 from the 32, swinging it out to Johnny Shepard. He was caught immediately on a good defensive play by Tom Towns. 9:57 is the time remaining in this first half. The Hamilton Tiger Cats leading the Ottawa Rough Riders by a score of 9-3. The veteran Tom Towns, a product of the University of Alberta, making the play that time. Johnny Shepard trying to get to the outside of Towns. He succeeds, but coming in to help is Dixon, and they prevent Shepard from getting that necessary first down yardage. Hero of the moment for the Hamilton Tiger Cats, Paul Bennett, with a 98-yard punt return. And that basically is the difference in the ball game. Sigler and Catterbohn are back for the third down kick by Bernie Ruoff. It bounces to Sigler at his 27-yard line. Sigler broke the initial tackle and then fought his way back out to the 34. Wayne Lee and Dave Grabner there for the stop. That kick by Bernie Ruoff traveled 47 yards. Sigler returned it 7. Yes, indeed, Al Bruno should feel good with the job he has done with his Ticats in this 1985 season. As a matter of fact, early in the year, there were many people speculating as to whether Bruno would even be around at the finish of the season. This one is intercepted by Lester Brown. His second of the game. He now has the lead in that department with 11. And Lester Brown is not going to take any chances this time. He decided to head upfield and go out of bounds. There's also a penalty flag back at the 40-yard line, an infraction that took place following the interception.
I thought it was a face guard, but it may have been a clip.
I believe it was a face guard, Leo, but against the Ottawa Rough Riders as they attempted to tackle Les Brown.
Well, that's number 11 for Les Brown. He's really going places.
Well, that dramatically improves the Hamilton Tiger Cats field position as they are now 1st and 10 at the 37-yard line. And as a team, that is interception number 41 for the Ticats. The last time they met, Hamilton picked off 4 Ottawa passes. That flanker screen to Champion, and Champion got one block and fought his way to the 12-yard line, taken out of bounds by Rick Silvietta.
Boy, he fooled everybody because when the ball was thrown out to him, they thought that he was going to cut in behind his blockers, and he spun to the outside instead. We'll get a look at it here. Everybody thought he was going to come in, and he faked to the inside, went to the outside, picked up a block there. Scott Colley made a good block, and he got knocked out of bounds downfield, but what a nice move by him. Tony Champion.
1st and 10 now for the Ticats from the 12 of Ottawa with 8:06 remaining in the half. Into the end zone for Stapler. Touchdown!
Well, that's that simple up pass down that they throw inside the 20-yard line where the quarterback takes a couple steps back and just lets it get up in the air and let the receiver run under it. And it's just a matter of one-on-one coverage trying to outrun that cornerback on defense. Couple steps back, let it go. One-on-one on the outside and just outrun it. Just about as nice as you can have it thrown.
As you saw, a fairly large contingent of Hamilton fans made the journey to Lansdowne Park for this game, and as you said, Leo, somewhat reminiscent of the old days in the Eastern Conference.
Well, I was really happy to see that. I can remember when we used to bring the Argos over here, the hotels would be loaded with people singing and shouting and doing all those things that you do at football games. We haven't seen that much this year, but it was good to see it again this morning. We'll be right back. Who says this kid doesn't have accuracy? 3 steps back, let it go. Gray was just beaten on the outside by Stapler.
Well, Hobart admits his mechanics as a passer are poor, but the end result is all that really counts, and he fired that one perfectly. The kickoff bounces away from Catterbone. He has to go back to his own 3-yard line, and Catterbone works out to the 17. So the Ottawa Rough Riders are backed up close to their own goal line to scrimmage 1st and 10 with 7:55 remaining in the half.
I see Hobart there taking a little congratulations from his teammates and people on the sidelines. They say in practice that this kid throws the ball so badly that if he threw it at the ground, he'd miss. But when he gets in a ball game, he does something, and that was just about as well thrown as you could have it, that last touchdown pass to Stapler. So, you know, a kid like this is probably cut several times every year by pro clubs because they think he can't do it because they've never seen him in a game situation.
There are practice players and there are game players, and Hobart is definitely a game day performer. Almost another interception by Howard Field.
Don, before the football game, we made this remark, and I think it's going to hold true. J.C. Watts is going straight back, and that big 4 is coming right at him. And as far as the linebackers and the deep backs are concerned, 8 guys are getting in that secondary and cluttering everything up with those 4 big guys coming in J.C. Watts' face. They're not going to have success until they start throwing some play-action passes and hold up those linebackers and hold up that rush from the front 4.
I agree with you, Leo. I don't think J.C. Watts will have any success as long as he continues to drop back and try and throw that football. He has to sprint out, run some play action. That time, he gave it to Lester Brown, but Lester Brown was stopped at the 22-yard line by middle linebacker Ben Zambiazzi. Well, with J.C. Watts not having much success, perhaps a quarterbacking change may be in the offing as Troy Bodine unlimbers his throwing arm at the Ottawa bench. And has a gain of 6 or maybe even 7 yards. Joe Moss yesterday, in discussing his quarterbacking situation, made that statement, and that certainly holds true. And the quarterback on every team realizes that if things go well, he receives most of the accolades, but when they falter, he also gets the finger pointed out.
I think he could include the coach on that, too.
Well, he's experienced for it. Lester Brown to the 40-yard line for a first down.
This is important if Ottawa is going to win this football game, that they get something out of this running attack. You saw Ben Zambiazzi, number 31, penetrate on the inside and get caught up in the flow, and this guy can carry the football. We've seen him in the last couple of games. He's up now to about 438 yards. He's really sneaking up on the yardage thing, and this guy can sustain a football team by his running.
J.C. Watts on first down, got away from Mitchell Price, being pursued by Covington. He gets away from him. He got back to the line of scrimmage, and Greg Gary was there to finally finish him off. But J.C. Watts did a lot of running, simply not to lose anything.
I'll tell you, if J.C. Watts didn't get anything else out of this play, he got scared to death. He got knocked back into the official number. Well, who does he see coming? Number 77, right? Look at that. Diving after him right there. He says, I'm going to get away from you. And he cuts back into about 2 big monsters. Gets to the line of scrimmage.
The injured player is Mike Walker. He collided with linebacker Greg Gary as they were chasing quarterback J.C. Watts.
I don't like that looking at his knee.
Well, I hope our Western confreres, Steve Armitage and Ron Lancaster, are looking on this afternoon. They've got a big ball game tomorrow that we'll be watching. That one involves the Edmonton Eskimos at home to the British Columbia Lions.
Yeah, that's going to be a good game. It's going to be a good game, the one over in Toronto tomorrow, too, with Montreal playing against the Argos. But I had a short visit with Ralph Sazio the other day at a Shenley get-together, and I told him, I said, I think that you people may be able to get by Montreal at home, although it's going to be a tough fight. But I think your tough fight is going to be that game out in Saskatchewan, that season-ending game, because Jack Goda is going to have those guys cranked up for that last game.
Well, the Hamilton Tiger Cats would dearly love to go back to Grey Cup 85. They were losers to the Winnipeg Blue Bombers last year in Edmonton. This year's game from Olympic Stadium in Montreal, and our CBC coverage includes the Shenley Awards on Thursday at 8 o'clock on the National Network, and for you viewers in the Maritimes and Newfoundland, 9 o'clock and 9:30 respectively. We'll also have the Grey Cup Parade on Sports Weekend, and a feature of that program, In Search of a Dream, the story of last year's Grey Cup triumph by the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Then on Sunday, Grey Cup Day, the countdown to the game, and then the game itself. So join us for all the excitement, and we promise you a lot of information in our pregame show as we talk with those who will be involved in Grey Cup 85.
Well, you know, if I lived in Canada and wanted to have a great weekend, I couldn't think of anything I'd rather do, you know, than go over to Montreal, of all places, to a Grey Cup game. Montreal's a fun place anyhow, and throw in a Grey Cup game and some of the excitement of a Grey Cup weekend, and it'll be a great 3 or 4 days for anybody.
Second down pass is intercepted. Donovan Rose, as that ball was deflected, dove to make the interception, and that equals a league record as he returns it to the 50-yard line, and a chorus of boos comes cascading down from the stands at Lansdowne Park.
I'll tell you that Donovan Rose was on that ball like a duck on a June bug. Every time they throw that ball up, it seems this afternoon that there's all kind of white jerseys around it, and they've got a lot of confidence in what they're doing. The ball is tipped here, the old tip drill. Now watch those white jerseys. They're all around it. Jonathan Rose says it's up in the air. It's mine. Howard Field says Ray. That's the way to go.
Hobart throwing deep for Stapler. Oh, he can't quite get it. There's a penalty flag. And there was no question on that as Ty Gray, Kevin Gray, I should say, slowed down Steve Stapler. And it will be great field position for Hamilton when we return. Well, I suggested that the Ticats would have great field position on that interference call against Gray, but there was also a flag back at the line of scrimmage, a holding call against Hamilton. The penalties offset each other, and the Hamilton Tiger Cats are back at the 50-yard line. Ken Hobart on the quarterback draw, scampered inside the 40-yard line. It will be 1st and 10 from the 38. At halftime, we'll have highlights of last night's victory by the Blue Bombers over Calgary. We'll also have the play of the half, and we'll be talking with one of the outstanding performers from the first half of the ball game. And how about Lester Brown? Or Les Brown, the defensive back for the Hamilton Tiger Cats, who has 2 interceptions this afternoon. Hobart to Rocky DiPietro, stopped at the 32-yard line by Ricky Barton. Shepard is stopped by Michel Bourgeot. He got inside the 30-yard line, and let's see where they place it.
At this stage of the game, the Ottawa defense is definitely over-shifting to the wide side of the field, and very alertly. Look at Hobart. He says that it's only 1 yard. I could have made that standing on my head. But very alertly, the coaches upstairs for the Hamilton Tiger Cats have said if they're going to overshift to the wide side of the field, let's go back to the short side.
Well, there's no doubt that Hobart wanted to gamble on 3rd down.
I think he was right, too.
However, Al Bruno makes the final decision, and he sends out Bernie Ruoff for a field goal attempt, and Ruoff puts it through with 1:59 remaining in the half.
Al Bruno says, I'll take the 3.
Well, the Ticats definitely got a lift with that 98-yard punt return by Paul Bennett, and since then they have taken control of this football game. 3 interceptions, equaling the CFL record for 42 by a team in one season, established by the British Columbia Lions in 1983. And talking about record performances, we should extend our congratulations to Trevor Kennard of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, who last night came up with a CFL single-season scoring record in that win over the Calgary Stampeders. Lester Brown, the ball carrier, to the 39-yard line. Lester Brown, the running back of the Ottawa Rough Riders. Les Brown, the defensive back of the Hamilton Tiger Cats.
Well, Kennard missed those first 3 field goals last night. I know he was feeling bad, but as that game progressed, he got the record, and it couldn't happen to a nicer guy. He's done a lot for that football team. He's a great little competitor.
1:41 is the time remaining in the half. 19-3. The Ticats lead. J.C. Watts is intercepted again. This one by Paul Bennett. The 4th time that the Hamilton Tiger Cats have intercepted J.C. Watts this afternoon, and the boos from the stands at Lansdowne Park grow louder.
Well, I'll tell you, they've got a great feel, and there's nothing like confidence once it's built in a football team. You see Hudson going down a little tip drill right there. Leo Esmond's got his hand up in the air. Paul Bennett went up like a basketball player, one-handed it with his left hand, stuffed it back in his right hand, went to the sidelines, first down. Just a great job.
And Paul Bennett and Lester Brown now share the league lead for interceptions with 11 each, and that football might wind up in the Hall of Fame in Hamilton. Quarterback Ken Hobart runs it to the 15-yard line.
Well, everything they're doing is right this afternoon, and it helps to have a blacksmith playing quarterback for you, and that's what this guy is. He's a blacksmith. He's tougher than Japanese arithmetic. He steps back here, and they come from the outside. He steps up inside, and he runs with authority. If you're going to tackle him, I don't care whether you're a linebacker, a lineman, or who you are, you're going to feel it.
Well, he has a fearless running style, and at 6'3", 213 pounds, he's considerably bigger than most of the defensive backs who are trying to take him on.
And you know what? It's his first year, and he hasn't been spoiled by anybody saying you're a quarterback, you shouldn't run with the football, you're liable to get hurt, you should extend your career, and all these kind of things. Actually, he doesn't know any better, and he loves to play football, and so he's in there, and he said, give me the ball, I'll run with it.
Talking about guys who are playing well, Paul Bennett is having an outstanding season. He is the Hamilton nominee in a couple of categories, and he could win that award as the
CFL record right there.
outstanding Canadian. And
Double
yes,
Shelley,
indeed,
Paul Bennett.
Terry Lenny, that is a CFL record. Interception number 43 for the Hamilton Tiger Cats on the season. Paul Bennett with 11, Les Brown with 11. The trade from the Winnipeg Blue Bombers certainly rejuvenating Paul Bennett.
You can bet that those cornerbacks will be a little bit more cognizant of that quick up pattern here. They're going to loosen up a little bit. Well, he goes up, he throws the same thing, but the cornerback was back there that time. He said, I'm not going to fool you. You're not going to fool me again like that.
That time, however, quarterback Ken Hobart had a little more pressure from outside linebacker Rick Sovieta. Wayne Lee goes to the bench as Scott Colley goes in for the Hamilton Tiger Cats. The man on the bench with that ice pack on his knee is David Solday.
Well, I didn't see that Kevin Gray, number 35, got hurt, but McIntyre's in his place, and maybe it's because he was beaten for that touchdown.
That time, Hobart was looking for a champion in the end zone. He was being covered by Lamont Meacham. And Hobart is a little upset with himself as he heads off to the bench. With 56 seconds remaining, Al Bruno sends out the field goal unit.
That's right, Ken, come here.
Now Hobart gets down there and he starts thinking that maybe he's a quarterback throwing the ball.
I want to view on this side.
Just tell him that he wanted him in a certain formation and so on. But Hobart gets down there, and right where he's in a position where he can do something with his run, he drops back and you see the field goal go through.
So Bernie Rua kicks a 22-yard field goal. And it's now 22-3 with 53 seconds left in this first half.
My fucking fault.
Well, Al thought it was his fault on that one.
J.C. Watts continues at the controls for the Ottawa Rough Riders. I think if you took a poll among the fans of Lansdowne Park, they would almost vote unanimously that Troy Bodine should be going into the ball game. We saw him warming up a little earlier, and supporting their argument for a change in quarterback might be the fact that J.C. Watts has thrown 4 interceptions so far in this first half. They are going to complete the first half of this football game with J.C. Watts, the man who got them to this contending position for first place at the controls.
And you know, Don, when a defensive secondary starts catching and intercepting like Hamilton's doing, there's a time in the league when that secondary will say, gee, don't throw the ball out here. You might complete it in my area. Now they're saying, throw it. I want to get a shot at it.
Lester Brown up to the 51-yard line. That is a first down for the Ottawa Rough Riders. Howard Fields and Grover Covington made the tackle with just 24 seconds remaining. 22-9, the Hamilton Tiger Cats lead the Ottawa Rough Riders. Ottawa with 1 game remaining against the British Columbia Lions. The Ticats with 1 game remaining. They are at home to the Calgary Stampeders. The pitch to Lester Brown. He gets a couple of blocks. He finds a hole, and he has another first down to the 44.
I'll tell you, Paul Bennett made a pretty good tackle there because Lester Brown cut back against the flow. And actually, he kind of stumbled over Paul, but if he would have hit the seam that he wanted to hit, he'd have gone all the way, and he knew it, too. He slammed the ball down on the ground.
With just 2 seconds remaining in the half, Ottawa sends out the field goal unit.
Good block there by Benjamin. Watch him right here, cut back. He knows he's got it. Uh-oh. Paul goes right under the blocker there, and he doesn't even see him. Makes the play.
This will be a 52-yard field goal attempt by Dean Dorsey and will also be the final play of the first half.
And he's kicked the 55-yard one. Keep that in mind.
It's blocked. And into the arms of Howard Fields. Fields pitches it out, but it rolls out of bounds. Donovan Rose was the man, I believe, who got a piece of that field goal attempt by Dean Dorsey. And the first half ends with the Hamilton Tiger Cats comfortably in front of the Ottawa Rough Riders by a margin of 22-3. Now, stay tuned for our halftime show. The balloting for that award.
That's for sure, Don. This kid has got the confidence now that he's needed for so long to make this football team a winning football team. The thing that amazes me is how that front four consistently get to the passer, and I'm talking about Hamilton's defense. Then they get 8 guys back there, and they clutter everything up, and Ottawa's playing right in their hands. They're dropping back, or they're coming just in a straight sprint to try to throw the football with no play action or anything else, and everybody can see what's happening. And as far as I'm concerned, that Ottawa defense, or that Hamilton defensive secondary is saying, throw the ball any place you want to, we're going to pick it off.
43 interceptions on the season, 4 this afternoon, and 2 of them by Les Brown. And I had an opportunity to talk with Les Brown. Les Brown, 2 interceptions this afternoon. As a team, you have now established a league record. Your secondary must feel extremely proud.
We're extremely proud of that record. We've been working hard for it, and now we got it. But the whole defense should be proud of it, from the defensive line to the linebackers all the way through the secondary, because everybody earned it.
You were a little disappointed with yourself in that first interception. You wound up losing yardage. You kept looking for Donovan Rose, I think, to throw a block for you.
Well, either we have been working on trying to get some transaction going, like either if I find some running room or we find someone to pitch the ball to get some running room so we can get some better field position for the offense. We've been working on that. And I couldn't get nothing going, and then when I found out myself losing yardage, I really got kind of upset because we didn't need that at all.
You anticipate in the second half to perhaps see a little more play action or some rollout action from J.C. Watts?
Yeah, I expect them to come with something different. If they stick with the same stuff, they're bound to be in trouble. I expect a lot more running this half, too.
All right, Les Brown, congratulations on that record. Continued success.
Thank you.
Well, we'll find out whether Troy Bodine has any more success coping with that Hamilton secondary than his predecessor, J.C. Watts. He is the quarterback for Ottawa to start this second half. The first play is a handoff to Lester Brown out to the 32-yard line. Stopped there by Leon Lescavich and Leo Ezerins.
Well, there's that almost a draw play that they run in there that we talked about before the game is something they should throw. And I'd like to see them throw a couple of screen passes if they're going to have some success, too. Seems to me that Jim Reed might be a likely guy to catch a screen pass.
Bodine throws, he's intercepted. This one will be returned for a touchdown by Mark Fleeter. Interception number 5 this afternoon, number 44 on the season.
I'll tell you what, Joe Moss was just absolutely shocked on the sidelines because, you know, I'm sure he went in there and he gave these guys a dressing down at the halftime and told them what they had to do to get back in this ball game. And then to come right out here and throw another interception that turns into a touchdown, that's enough to demoralize anybody. But as I said before, Don, that Hamilton team just looks like they're saying throw the ball any place you want to throw it, and we're going to pick it off. JC goes back, and again it's a tip drill. And look at the alertness of Streeter on that thing. He looks around, he says, I can't believe it. Nobody's near me. I'm scoring.
You may have just thought it looked like JC. It was actually Troy Bodine who fired that pass that was intercepted by Mark Streeter. JC had enough problem during the first half with 4 interceptions. A penalty flag on the convert attempt. The Ottawa Rough Riders were offside. So Bernie Ruoff will get another opportunity to put it through, which he does.
Well, I saw Bodine warming up in the sidelines. I knew he should be in there, and I don't know why I said JC, but it looks like they're not making any kind of exceptions this afternoon on who's going to throw interceptions. And that's kind of an inauspicious debut for poor Bodine. Ball is just thrown a little bit too high. And boy, Streeter just happens to be Johnny on the spot, right in the right spot. He can't believe he's so wide open.
Something that the Ottawa Rough Riders obviously were going to work on in this second half, something they did not take advantage of in the first half, trying to screen to Jim Reed coming out of that fullback position. That pass by Bodine just a little high into the arms of Streeter, and he was gone for 6. Ruoff's kickoff rolls out of bounds, and did it roll out before it crossed into the goal area?
Go, Howard, get another one, baby, get another one.
They bring the ball out to the 25-yard line. And Joe Moss has to be a little shell-shocked this afternoon. He came in rather confident, but interceptions have certainly destroyed his Ottawa Rough Riders. Lester Brown spinning off a couple of tackles, and he is stopped at the 27-yard line.
Well, you never know what makes a football team all of a sudden come together and what makes the chemistry improve. And this time last year, they were fighting about their defensive coach and fighting about their offensive coach, and this guy wasn't good enough and that guy wasn't good enough. Almost the same people are in there this year now, with one exception, Hobart, who's melded it together. But there's a lot of harmony, and they're really playing.
Troy Bodine earlier this year was in the camp of the New England Patriots. Cincinnati product completes the pass to Steve Hall to the 33-yard line, but he is short of the first down. His forward advance was stopped by Mark Streeter. 29-9 is the score in favor of the Hamilton Tiger Cats over the Ottawa Rough Riders. And Ken Clark comes into the ball game for this third down punt. Coming into the game, the Ottawa Rough Riders had a record of 7 wins and 7 losses. The Hamilton Tiger Cats were 6-8. And it appears virtually certain that it will now be improved to 7-8. Bennett is stopped at the 38-yard line. That's where the Hamilton Tiger Cats will scrimmage when we return to Lansdowne Park. Yes, indeed, Steve Armitage and Ron Lancaster will be at Commonwealth Stadium in Edmonton for that game tomorrow. A very important ball game for the British Columbia Lions and the Edmonton Eskimos. First or third place could await the winner. Winnipeg Blue Bombers have assured themselves of a second-place finish with their victory last night. And Johnny Shepard runs for very close to a first down.
Now look to the wide side of the field there. They're bringing up Ricky Barden on the end of the line of scrimmage. They have Marshall and everybody over there in an overshift. So what's Hamilton do? They hit right back to the weak side with a running play, and it's very effective. So as I said before, the people upstairs have already noticed that there's a big overshift by the Ottawa defense to the wide side of the field, and they're attacking them back to the short side with the running game.
It will be second and less than a yard for the Ticats. Shepard has carried the ball for 48 yards so far in this ball game, and on this second down play, they throw deep, intended for Champion. He cannot hang on.
Well, it was a great play because I would be surprised if they didn't try for it here on third down, even if they do have the big balls, because they don't have very far to go. But that's a play-action fake that we've been talking about that Ottawa should be using this afternoon to hold those linebackers and to spread out that defensive secondary. And he hit Champion right in the hands, but a good defensive play pulled the ball away from him. There's the ball in flight right there. Champion reaches up, and it's just perfect. But actually, Meacham pulled his arms down and pulled the ball loose from his arms.
Hobart keeps, he gets the first down.
You don't think that guy can handle a quarterback sneak? Says, how much do we have? We got a yard, half a yard to go. Well, I'll get 2, and he goes out and gets 2 yards. Look at him smiling in the huddle. He thinks everything's on the square.
Well, even if his Hamilton Tiger Cat teammates aren't in Montreal with him during breakup week, I'd suggest he had better make plans to be there as the Shenley nominee as the outstanding player in the Eastern Conference. He has really been a key factor in the Hamilton Tiger Cat surge that should carry them this afternoon into a tie for first place in the Eastern Conference. Johnny Shepard, the ball carrier, tackled by Ricky Barton. Second down play from the 49. The fake by Hobart trying to get outside. He does. He throws to Colley. First down, Hamilton at the 39 of Ottawa. The Canadian game is designed for a quarterback like Ken Hobart.
The last play, they went to the overshift to the wide side of the field. Here they're in the middle of the field, so he fakes the running play, going back over to his left, and then comes back to his right on the bootleg, outruns the defensive man on this side and shakes him loose, Lewis. And then at the last minute looks downfield like a good quarterback should do and puts the ball right on the money. This kid has really come of age.
Back to the live action. Graffy with his first carry of the afternoon to the 34-yard line. He is stopped by Michel Bourgeot. 29-3 is the score in favor of the Hamilton Tiger Cats over the Ottawa Rough Riders. There has not been much for that man to smile about this afternoon. Joe Moss, the head coach of the Ottawa Rough Riders. Probably won't have much to smile about next week either as he travels out to Vancouver to take on the British Columbia Lions. Rocky DiPietro makes the catch for a first down, a simple slant-in pattern carrying to the 24-yard line.
This is just like playing poker, boy. When you get hot playing poker, you can do anything you want to do and make any kind of a bet. Right now, as far as Hobart's concerned, just get him a little bit of opening on any one of his receivers, and that arm feels altogether different than that lead arm 3 or 4 weeks ago when he was afraid he was going to throw an interception. Right now, he's got all the confidence in the world.
Well, as Hobart was explaining to us, when he first came to the Hamilton Tiger Cats during the first couple of games, he was unsure of himself, unsure of the Hamilton system and his play selection. But he is gaining confidence, poise, and maturity with every outing.
He's just come of age, and he's a guy that's real happy to be playing with a football team. He was turned down by an NFL team because they didn't think he had what it took, and he thought for a while he wasn't going to make it in Canada, but he got his place on this Hamilton team, and he's extremely happy. He even made a comment the other day that most agents wouldn't like to hear, that money doesn't mean too much to him.
He is young. Dave Graffy was the ball carrier, stopped by Rick Sovieta, but there were penalty flags on the play. Ross Perrier indicates offside against the Ottawa Rough Riders, so it will be 1st and 5.
Okay, one thing that's worthwhile remembering As we look at Ralph Dixon having a little bit of problem on the sidelines there. One thing worth remembering is that Mike Dirks and Jason Riley and Jeff Arp and Ralph Schultz are doing a great job in that offensive line.
Hobart throws to DiPietro for a first down. He made the catch in front of Mike McIntyre. McIntyre is the man who's come into the ball game to replace the injured Ralph Dixon as the Ottawa Rough Riders are forced to do some juggling in the secondary.
You see DiPietro turning the outside, and DiPietro is coming into his own now again after some injuries, and he has been a great pro for this football team. Again, talking about that offensive line, John Malinowski broke a leg, and Miles Gurrell broke an arm, and they filled in with guys like Mike Dirks and Ralph Schultz going to tackle, and just doing a great job in there in their offensive line.
First and goal from the 8, incomplete. The pass intended for DiPietro. He was being covered by Ricky Barton.
Again, he's getting down there in a position where he can really use his ability as a runner and just throwing drop-back passes. Now, if he's going to throw that up pass that he just leads them into the end zone and has them run under it, it's one thing. But just a regular drop-back pass, he's much more effective rolling out, and if the pass isn't there, using his running ability to score.
It will be second and goal from the 8-yard line. Hobart rolling to his left, trying to get into the end zone. He'll be stopped short. He fumbles the football. It's recovered by Ottawa. I believe Kevin Gray got the ball. As Hobart trying to extend with that extra effort to get into the end zone, and it pop away. Ottawa takes over with 7:25 remaining in the third quarter. Yes, we hope you'll be joining us for all the excitement of Grey Cup 85 from Olympic Stadium in Montreal, plus all the associated events such as the Shenley Awards and the Grey Cup Parade and our pre-game show. You'll see it all on CBC television. Lester Brown is stopped at the 2-yard line. He is going to lose 1.5 yards on the play. Mitchell Price came over to stack it up. Let's take a look at the fumble by Ken Hobart.
Well, Hobart should have done this on first down instead of second down. Come out here and use this running ability and get it down by the goal line and then do the same thing on second down. But he gets it right down to about the 4-yard line, and as he's tackled, he lets the ball go loose. But it was still a good calculated gamble on his part.
And that's the man who came up with that fumble recovery for the Ottawa Rough Riders, Kevin Gray. Troy Bodine from his end zone from Mike Hudson for a first down at the 25.
I'll tell you, this Hudson kid really impresses me. And again, I'm going to mention that there was a guy that played over here not many years ago that broke every kind of conceivable record, a guy by the name of Tony Gabriel, and he kind of reminds you of him. He's kind of a lumberer, but one thing about him, look at that. When the ball gets anywhere close to him, he's going to catch it. Doesn't have the great speed, doesn't have a lot of moves, but a good target, 6'5", 220, and he can catch the football.
First and 10 from the 25. Bodine can't go anywhere as he is wrapped up by Mitchell Price again. Earlier, we saw Mike Walker go down, and since then, Leon Lescavich has been playing at that defensive tackle position. Troy Bodine out of the University of Cincinnati. In his first year with the Ottawa Rough Riders, taking over for J.C. Watts to start the second half. Looking for Hudson again, it's incomplete. So the Ottawa Rough Riders are forced to kick it away with 5:17 remaining in this third quarter.
Unless Clark can come up with a real big kick right here, Hamilton's going to be in good shape again.
The Ottawa Rough Riders have taken some bumps this afternoon. You saw Dixon on the bench with an ice pack on his knee. Earlier, Kevin Gray was hurt. Excellent kick by Ken Park. Bennett retreats to the 35. A reverse with Les Brown. And he is stopped at the 50-yard line. 4:50 is the time remaining here at Lansdowne Park. The Ottawa Rough Riders next week travel to Vancouver to take on the BC Lions. The Hamilton Tiger Cats will be at home against the Calgary Stampeders. That last kick by Ken Clark, a 56-yarder. Penalty flag. I think holding will be charged against Hamilton as middle linebacker Al Washington greets quarterback Ken Hobart. But that effort will go for naught.
I think they're going to call Ralph Schultz, number 67, for pulling them down on the penetration. I'd like to point out again that that's a makeshift line because of a couple injuries. Marv Alamang has made a great adjustment to the center position, has helped that offensive line a lot. Jeff Arpa's in there coming off an injury. Jason Riley, Mike Dirks, and Ralph Schultz. And watch Schultz here, number 67. You can't do that, Ralph. You got to be on the other side of the ball to do that. That's called tackling.
First and 20 from the 40-yard line. The draw play with Johnny Shepard going nowhere. As a matter of fact, the reaction of Lloyd Lewis creates a loss of 2 yards.
I think Johnny Shepard had a very legitimate right there for complaining the official, because I think that somebody grabbed that face mask and almost pulled his neck off, or at least his head.
It's been quite a year for Lloyd Lewis, coming out of the United States Football League to the Ottawa Rough Riders. He's had 2 seasons in 1985.
We're going to get a look at. Watch Johnny Shepard. Watch the face mask. Ooh, you can't do that. That's a face mask if I ever saw one.
You can do it as long as the officials don't detect that you're doing it. Champion, the intended receiver, knocked away by Lamont Meacham. You get the feeling, Leo, every time Hobart throws the ball deep, that ball seems to be just hanging in the air for an eternity.
Well, he's had an amazing amount of luck as far as getting the ball just there in the nick of time this afternoon on several occasions. But that time, Meacham made a good reaction. But you say the ball just does hang up in the air there. And I think Champion thought he was about ready to squeeze it. Meacham just came in front of him and knocked it down. Lewis looks like a kangaroo with those pockets in front of his shirt.
Greg Marshall appeared to jump offside, and that was the case. But it will still be 3rd down, Hamilton. Third and 16 now from the 44. Good kick by Rua. Catterbohn at his own 19-yard line. He returns it to the 31. That was a 47-yard kick by Bernie Rua. And we have 3 minutes and 11 seconds remaining in quarter number 3. Listen, depending on what happens tomorrow in that game involving Toronto and Montreal, the Argos could be battling for a playoff spot next Sunday against Saskatchewan. 23,692 taking in this first-place battle this afternoon at Lansdowne Park. That has been a lopsided affair from about the midpoint of the opening quarter. And it's now 29-3, the Ticats in front of Ottawa. They won the first meeting of the season, 32-11. That was on September 22nd at Iverwin Stadium in Hamilton. J.C. Watt started the ball game. Troy Bodine, a product of the University of Cincinnati, has taken over in the second half. A disastrous opening half for Watt. He was intercepted 4 times. Bodine has his first pass of the second half intercepted and returned for a touchdown by Mark Streeter. He completes it to Stephen Hall. He's caught by Ben Zambiazzi, the Cookie Monster. He operates a specialty cookie store in Hamilton. As a matter of fact, a couple of them called Gourmazing.
Watch Covington, number 77, get rolled off the lip of the cup by Jim Reed, who we've often remarked is a fine blocker from his fullback position. And Bodine stepped up inside and got the pass off and had success with it.
The pitch to Lester Grant stopped right at the line of scrimmage, 2 yards short of the first down.
Well, the amazing thing about this Hamilton front four defensively is that they do an awfully good job of rushing the passer. And then when you try to run against them, they've got those superb linebackers that can fill on that inside stuff, off-tackle stuff, and even end-run stuff. You get Zambiazzi and Priestner and Gary, and you've got 3 excellent linebackers. So what are you going to do against these people unless you play action them? You can't run against them, and you can't drop back and pass against them.
Paul Bennett will field it at the 20. And Bennett runs it back to the 39, a return of 19 after that 51-yard kick by Ken Clark. Well, as part of Grey Cup week festivities, the Mississippi Grey Cup competition, and representing the Ottawa Rough Riders this year will be Julie Thibault. She, along with the representatives of the 8 other CFL teams, will be vying for the title of Miss Grey Cup 1985. One of these years, Leo, maybe you and I can be selected as a judge for that competition.
No comment.
Stapler takes the ball out of bounds at the 48. 2 yards short of the first down. It will be second and 2. 1:36 is the time left to play in the third quarter. 29-3. Hamilton leads Ottawa. I agree with you, Leo, when you're in that short yardage situation. You create problems when you hand off 3 yards deep in the backfield to the running back. When you have someone with Ken Hobart's capabilities, with his strength, to simply run a quarterback sneak.
I think you got a better chance because, as you say, you always take a chance on penetration, especially when you go to the I back or a deep back in the backfield. And normally you like to lead with a blocker to lead the thing in, which sometimes makes that runner get further back.
High punt by Bernie Ruoff. Catterbone takes it at the 20. And he gets it back to the 30-yard line, a 42-yard kick by Bernie Ruoff. Offensively, Joe Moss and the Ottawa Rough Riders haven't had a great deal of success this afternoon against a very tough Hamilton defensive unit. Bodine completes the pass to Hudson. He's forced out of bounds by Donovan Rose. 32 seconds, the time left to play in the third quarter.
Hamilton's got a guy rolling down. There's Joe Moss on the sidelines over there. And there's nothing you can do in a situation like this as far as the head coach is concerned, but just try to keep a status quo and talk things over.
Well, this is the first time this year that the Ottawa Rough Riders have been able to play with the same personnel as they had the previous week. But after this result this afternoon, and with a couple of the injuries that the Ottawa Rough Riders have incurred, I don't think they'll be going 3 weeks in a row with the same lineup.
We haven't got the number yet, but Covington, number 77, comes across. And look, he puts a forearm right under Sauvé's chin there by accident, and Sauvé goes down like overalls at quitting time. It was one of those things where he really didn't mean to do that, but when you come across there with about 260 pounds and make contact, and you get to a vulnerable spot on a guy that can knock him down. And Sauvé realizes that right now.
Well, the Ottawa Rough Riders and Hamilton Tiger Cats are battling for first place in the Eastern Conference this afternoon, and they are hopeful that they will be going to Grey Cup 85 that takes place in Montreal. And whether you're in Montreal or watching on television, you'll be able to take in all of the festivities, because we'll have all the action for you on CBC television, beginning with the Shenley Awards on Thursday, November the 21st, at 8 o'clock on the National Network, 9 o'clock for you folks in the Maritimes, 9:30 in Newfoundland. And Sports Weekend will bring you the Grey Cup Parade, and we will feature In Search of a Dream, a look back at last year's success by the Winnipeg Blue Bombers in winning the Grey Cup for the first time since 1962. And then our pregame show, Countdown to Grey Cup. You'll meet the personalities involved in the game itself, and we'll have the telecast of the 1985 Fall Classic for you, beginning at 12 noon Eastern Time.
There's Sauvé walking off the field, and he's still in a kind of a state of shock. He was really hit. I saw Ben Zambiazzi over there talking to him, and Ben is a real team leader on that defense and consoling him, and I think he just shook it off. It's always good to see a guy get up and walk. And Ben better deliver those cookies to us next week.
On second down, Hudson is the target. He's got a first down. Last week against Montreal, J.C. Watts had this man, Hudson, as his favorite target. In the second half this afternoon, Troy Bodine also likes to throw to number 73.
All Hudson is doing is just scraping right off of the release by the outside receiver and getting open in the flat, and I think Hamilton will give him as many of those as he wants to get. It's going to take him a long time to move down the field with that.
Bodine has only completed 5 passes. 4 of those completions have gone to Hudson. He's looking deep this time for Wayman Aldridge. Incomplete. Les Brown was defending against Aldridge, and Les Brown is hurt on the final play of the third quarter. So with 15 minutes remaining at Lansdowne Park, the Hamilton Tiger Cats are comfortably in front. Brown, a product of North Colorado State, appears to be in a great deal of pain as he is treated by trainer Ray Jones of the Hamilton Tiger Cats. He was defending against Wayman Aldridge on that long pass, the final play of the third quarter. Coming into the game, the Ottawa Rough Riders held a 2-point edge over Hamilton and Montreal. Ottawa at 7-7. They are now going to drop to 7-8, and they'll have an identical record with Hamilton. But the Hamilton Tiger Cats will have won both games against Ottawa this season, so they will get the edge. Montreal also with 12 points, Toronto with 10 points. Toronto could create a tie with Montreal for the third and final playoff position when they meet tomorrow afternoon at CNE Stadium in Toronto. Now in the West, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers have completed their schedule. They have 24 points. The possibility still exists of a 3-way tie for top spot in the West. Tomorrow, the BC Lions take on the Eskimos in Edmonton. And, of course, with that battle between those two still to come, those two teams each have 2 games remaining on their schedule. Edmonton winds up against the Montreal Concords, and BC concludes the season at home to the Ottawa Rough Riders. Greg Gary, the linebacker, got through that time to dump quarterback Troy Bodine.
I'll tell you, they're so surprised when they send anybody but their front 4 that they don't even block them. And you'll see Gary come in here and just absolutely, I don't think Bodine even saw him coming, just steamrolled him.
And as we looked at those standings, the only thing certain with 1 week remaining is that the Winnipeg Blue Bombers will finish second in the West, and the Saskatchewan Rough Riders and Calgary Stampeders are eliminated from playoff contention. Paul Bennett fields the punt, and he is stopped at the 52-yard line. They're working on the shoulder of Les Brown. 2 interceptions this afternoon. And he shares the league lead with teammate Paul Bennett, each with 11.
It looks to me like it's either a shoulder, as you pointed out, Don, or a collarbone. The doctor is kind of reassuring him there on the sidelines. And this would be a tremendous loss if they lost this kid. It's a great day that he's had today, breaking the record.
The pitch to Johnny Shepard. Shepard trying to cut back inside, but Washington, the middle linebacker, stopped him at the midfield stripe, limiting his gain to just a couple of yards. .35 is the time left to play here at Lansdowne Park. 29-3, the Hamilton Tiger Cats lead the Ottawa Rough Riders. Hobart goes to the sidelines, and they are ruling that he made the catch, and Steve Stapler takes it out of bounds, very close to a first down. He made the catch in front of Lamont Meacham.
Well, they got the first down.
They spot the ball at the 46. J.C. Watt started the game for the Ottawa Rough Riders, threw 4 interceptions in the first half and gave way to Troy Bodine. Ken Hobart fires to Rocky DiPietro for another first down. Hamilton at the 33.
You know what happened that time? They came with the linebacker blitzes on Hobart. And before the ball game, I said if they blitz into his face that he doesn't really have that much experience. But what did he do? As soon as Rocky come off the line of scrimmage, he saw the blitz coming. He bent to the inside to the post, and Hobart hit him right in the hands for the first down. Excellent job of picking up the blitz and throwing quickly.
From the 33-yard line, the give to Johnny Shepard. He broke the first tackle, getting away from Lloyd Lewis. He's still on his feet. An amazing bit of running by Johnny Shepard.
Well, I'll tell you, that was an amazing bit of running.
But it may be wiped out by a penalty flag back at the 37-yard line.
Well, looks like it's going to go the other way.
Yes, it is.
Watch somebody. Johnny Shepard looks like one of those cars that you see in the carnivals where they just bounce off one, bounce off the other, and he's strong. He straight arms one guy, steps up the inside, let's bounce off a couple more here. Everybody, you know, Towns, number 20, laying down there, and they're saying, aren't you going to get up and chase him? He said, no, he'll be back in a minute.
A rough play call. A pass for the touchdown to Stapler, and Hobart looked and saw that pressure coming and fired to Stapler on that slant-in pattern. And the Ottawa Rough Riders are turning this, or the Ticats, I should say, are turning this one into a rout.
Again, it's a watch the blitz come from the inside. There they come in a hurry. He sees it coming. The outside receiver, well, actually the cornerback fell down on the outside, but still the outside receiver had the presence of mind to bend it in a hurry, and he hit him right where he should for the touchdown.
Bernie Ruoff with the point after. Again, the man holding the ball, backup quarterback Tom Porras had a little trouble getting it pinned, but Ruoff put it through with 12:05 remaining in the game. Well, the Hamilton fans have certainly had plenty to cheer about this afternoon at Lansdowne Park.
Watch Stapler, he pushes Meacham off, and Meacham, in his intent to accelerate and get to him on that post pattern, just fell flat on his face. But Hobart knew what to do with the football.
2 touchdowns for Steve Stapler this afternoon.
Stapler said it was nothing. Let me have a drink.
36-3, the Ticats lead.
Well, if anybody would have told me that this game would end up like this, I would have bet them all the tea in China that would have been a close football game.
Gray on the kickoff return, bouncing off a couple of tacklers out to the 36-yard line. Stopped there by Wayne Lee. 11:59 still to play in the football game. The Ottawa Rough Riders coming into the contest with a 2-point advantage over the Hamilton Tiger Cats. The Ticats have had great success this year against Eastern opposition. They've only lost once, and that was the first time they met the Toronto Argonauts.
And boy, that do count, especially on these ties at the end of the season when it comes close. The team that has the advantage of the victories and the points is the one that's going to emerge victorious.
Bodine was almost intercepted by linebacker Leo Ezerman. But you said at the start of the ball game that if the Ottawa Rough Riders were going to have any success this afternoon, they had to run some play action. They haven't done it.
Well, I'm sure that if they had it to do all over again and they looked at these films, they might come with some run action. But I know that their game plan probably had something else in mind. But you just saw the depth that time of Leo Ezerman. Those linebackers on a drop-back pass without any play action or without any faking to the back can drop right back in there, and there's 8 people in that secondary cluttering it up, and those 4 monsters coming after you.
Here they come again, and they've got Troy Bodine. They only rush those 4 people, but what an effective job they do.
And 3 of the 4 make the tackle.
Leon Lescavich and Mitchell Price led the charge on Troy Bodine.
Now watch, number 77 is there, number 64 is there, and number 65 is there. Now you can't ask for any more than that. I'm only going to send 4 guys into that backfield all afternoon. And if I say one of you guys get them, that's asking a lot. But when 3 of them get them, well, that shocks me.
Paul Bennett fields that 3rd down kick by Ken Clark. Fumbled the football. Ottawa's got it. Stephen Hall comes up with the ball. And the Ottawa Rough Riders will have a 1st and 10 at the Hamilton 53 when we return.
Paul Bennett's got the ball, and he's wanting to break loose again now. He's feeling his oats a little bit, and as he goes down, the ball slips out of his hand. Hall recovers it.
1st and 10. The ball is at the 53-yard line. That's an interesting statistic. The Ottawa Rough Riders have given up almost a touchdown more per game than they've scored. Those turnovers this afternoon have certainly been costly. Lester Brown cuts inside a block and will be close to a 1st down. It was Steve Hall who came out and took out Mark Streeter, enabling Lester Brown to cut it back inside for a gain of about 8 yards.
Raymond Aldrich and Fields, and they say, oh, I was just kidding.
The pitch to Lester Brown, and he should have the 1st down. Nick Benjamin was pulling out of his guard spot, but he did not get out in front of him to throw the block, enabling Lester Brown to pick up the yardage. Nick Benjamin, the rookie from Concordia, has certainly had an outstanding season.
There's Al Bruno on the sidelines asking what time's the bus going to leave. Last week we interviewed him, Ron Lancaster and I, and in the press conference he said that, you know, he felt very comfortable. Maybe he thought he could take Don Whitman's place. And he also said down in that press conference, he said, you know, I've always wanted to be a sports writer. And I popped up in the back of the room and I said, stick around, maybe you will be. He got a kick out of that.
Yes, he was quite relaxed and in a very jovial mood yesterday. Maybe he knew something. They try and screen to Jim Ray, but look at that swarm of Hamilton defenders. They had 10 people over there to tackle Jim Reed. Now that is what you call gang tackling.
Well, the amazing thing is that by all that's right and reasonable, a screen pass at this time to Jim Reed ought to be a very successful play. But they read that thing, not one read it, but as you say, about a half a dozen read it, then the other group got to it.
Well, as I said earlier, things don't get any easier for the Ottawa Rough Riders because they now have to prepare to face the BC Lions on Friday night on the 1st of November under the Dome in Vancouver. On Saturday, the Hamilton Tiger Cats are at home to play the Calgary Stampeders. Then on Sunday, Edmonton visits Montreal, a game that could determine the playoff hopes for the Montreal Concorde and the exact order of finish for the Edmonton Eskimos. And also on Sunday, we will have the game for you between the Saskatchewan Roughriders and the Toronto Argonauts. That could be an extremely important game in the playoff aspirations of the Toronto Argonauts. Leo Ezerin's the injured player. He was hurt in that gang tackle of Jim Reed.
We'll see number 72. Right there on the bottom of the pile, they fall on. Maybe hurt his shoulder a little bit. He's coming off the field, and the expression on his face, he's telling the guys, "What do you mean I'm not hurt? It hurt like whatever." There they come again.
Bodine is caught and dropped back at the 50-yard line. And again, there are 4 Hamilton defenders in there to bring him down, led by Greg Gary and Grover Covington.
Well, I saw that Gary getting taped before the game, and he looks like a tackle instead of a linebacker. Big, strong kid. Watch them rally. They all want a piece of the action.
Well, that's what you want your defense to do, to be all over the ball carrier or the pass receiver, and they are coming in droves. Ken Clark booms this one into the end zone, and Wayne Lee will concede the single point. And a cheer from the stands at Lansdowne Park. A rather derisive cheer from those who are still in attendance among the 23,000 plus who turned up for the game.
That's a bitter pill to swallow for Coach Joe Moss and his coaching staff and for the players. But they come out here with a lot of enthusiasm and certainly want to salt away first place in the Eastern Division of the CFL. And they met a football team this afternoon that were just a little bit more determined than they were.
Well, Tom Porras is going to get an opportunity to play quarterback for the Hamilton Tiger Cats, and he fires it to the sidelines to Scott Colley. He goes out of bounds with a first down. Mike McIntyre forced him out of bounds. Porras, the backup quarterback to Ken Hobart. He's out of the University of Washington. He has seen very limited action this season.
Boy, he wasn't going to waste any time. He got in there instead of running a running play to get his feet on the ground. He said, "Let me throw that ball." He got it out there to Colley, and nice little game.
The pitch to Johnny Shepard. He cuts back inside. I think he ran into one of his own men along with a couple of Ottawa defenders.
Hey, Becky, how you doing? Keep that video on for you. Make sure you get this game.
Yes, I'm sure the video of this game will prove to be a rather enjoyable experience for the Hamilton Tiger Cats. Throws it deep down the sidelines, intended for Champion, incomplete. Lamont Meacham was defending. There's something of an unusual throwing motion.
We're going to take a look at the offensive line blocking. Actually, Lewis slipped through there, but look at the double team on board. All right, wait a minute now. What is this? It's a little... They got him, though. Schultz got him down at the last minute. 2 points. Takedown.
36-4, the Ticats in total control of this football game as the seconds tick away in the fourth quarter. Ruoff's kick, fielded by Catterbone. And Catterbone is stopped at the 43-yard line following that 44-yard punt by Bernie Ruoff. And it's going to be tough making a choice in that Hamilton defensive unit. There have been a number of outstanding individual performances this afternoon. J.C. Watts has returned as quarterback of the Ottawa Rough Riders at the 22-yard line. Knocked down by John Priestner. Well, Leo, we saw Greg Gary sending a message to his girlfriend to make sure she taped this football game. Maybe you've got a message for her as well.
Well, let me tell you, this program is copyright, and it's strictly for the private use of our audience. Any reproduction, retransmission, or exhibition, in whole or in part, without the express written consent of the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation, is 6 months without a radio.
J.C. Watts running the ball, and he has a gain of almost 10 yards. They're very relaxed over at that Hamilton bench right now, but they don't want to grow overconfident because they still have one game remaining in order to finish first in the Eastern Conference, and that is next Saturday against the Calgary Stampeders. And they don't want to take those Calgary Stampeders too lightly, even though they were blown out last night by the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Third and about a foot, and J.C. Watts is staying out there, so the Ottawa Rough Riders will be going after that first down yardage.
Catterbone, there's a guy we haven't heard too much of since early in the season. He's got a lot of ability, but they're not getting the football.
The first few games of the year, Catterbone and Derek Zeno were a couple of promising newcomers on the roster of the Ottawa Rough Riders. J.C. Watts on third down, if he made it, did not make it by much. They're going to bring out the chain again.
Oh, they give him a pretty good laydown on this.
It's amazing how the Hamilton Tiger Cats, though, have turned their season around. They were off to such a poor start, but then the turnabout coincided with the arrival of Ken Hobart.
Like I said before, too, that there was a lot of criticism of their coaching staff and a lot of things that they were doing. And actually, all they really needed was to get a quarterback in there, somebody that could lift up that offense and give them something to live for, make that defense assert themselves to their full capabilities, and they're certainly doing it now.
Well, I harken back to a statement you made very early in the season that they did not have bad personnel, and they were a better football team than most people thought. That pass to Catterbone falls incomplete. Watts was rushed in his throw by Mitchell Price.
Boy, that Mitchell Price looked like he was shot out of a gun.
Well, they've had to make an adjustment defensively. With the injury to Sauve and Walker, they are playing a 3-4. Gadavekis has come into the ball game, so has John Priestner.
Oh, boy.
Well, it doesn't matter who they send of those front four. Somebody always seems to be getting through to the quarterback, and that time it was Grover Covington.
You know something, Don? That's not a bad offensive line. Kevin Powell, Ross Francis, Bob Stephen, Nick Benjamin, and Roger Catalin over there for Ottawa. But these four guys from Hamilton, I'll tell you, they are something. Look at that Covington. Just go right around the block there of Nick Benjamin, who's big enough to go hunt and bear with a switch. He just goes right in there, goes right around, he makes the tackle. They're cranked up.
Ken Clark kicks the ball to Wayne Lee at his 33-yard line. Wayne Lee stumbles and staggers up to the 52-yard line. Shane Ireland was there And Wayne Lee is going to stay in the ball game and run out of that slot back position. At this point in the game, Coach Al Bruno is substituting rather freely. Harrison is the injured Ottawa player. He primarily works on the special teams. University of British Columbia has sent a number of good football players into professional ranks in the Canadian Football League. And talking about minor football across the country, semifinal games for the Canadian Junior Championship will be played tomorrow. The St. Vital Mustangs will host the Ottawa Sooners, and the Saskatoon Hilltops will entertain Richmond. Stapler on the sidelines made the catch and tried to get away from Gray, but was dropped back at the 48-yard line. However, they rule that his forward progress had carried to just outside the 45, so it will be a first down. Johnny Shepard. He fights his way to the 41-yard line. Sovieta and Greg Marshall combine to bring down Johnny Shepard. Tomorrow at CNE Stadium, the Toronto Argonauts entertain the Montreal Concords. The Concords playing their first game under their new coach following the resignation of Joe Galat. Colley makes the catch, and he is caught almost immediately by Chris Ziegler.
Hobart's taking a very well-deserved rest on the sidelines. And this kid has made a whale of difference in this Hamilton Tiger Cat football team. But that Porras that's in there made a pretty nice play that time himself with that blitz coming right up in his face, getting rid of that ball to Scott Colley on the outside.
Completed 75% of his passes since replacing Ken Hobart. And he'll go gambling on 3rd and inches. He'll keep it himself, and he should have the first down. He had to get to the 35-yard line, and he succeeded.
I'm not too sure about the advisability of that offensive set that time. They had both backs that went in motion were out of the backfield, which meant to that defensive line that there's no place else in the world they can run but a quarterback sneak. Well, Ben Zambiazzi sidelines, a little bit of a wink.
1st and 10. The ball is at the 35-yard line. Champion goes wide to the right. Stapler comes out to the left. 3:09 is the time remaining. Hand off to Johnny Shepard, cutting back inside. He picks up about 2, maybe 3 yards. 36-4. The Ticats lead the Ottawa Rough Riders here at Lansdowne Park. Well, there's no doubt that the Hamilton Tiger Cats have dominated the Ottawa Rough Riders in the 2 games this season, 32-11 and 36-4. And there's a possibility that Hamilton might even add more points in this second battle here at Lansdowne Park. Tom Porras was flushed out of the pocket and stopped at the 29-yard line by Greg Marshall. And on 3rd down, are they going to gamble? It appears as though that offensive unit is going to remain on the field with 2:43 remaining.
I saw Al Bruno on the sidelines there give the signal to keep it on the ground, too. So I think it's just a little bit of courtesy that he's rendering the Ottawa football team at this stage of the ball game.
He gives it to Johnny Shepard, and he'll be stopped shy of a first down. At least it would appear that way, depending on where they place the ball. And they do not make it, so the Ottawa Rough Riders send out the offensive unit with 2:25 remaining. Now tomorrow at CNE Stadium, when Gary Durchik leads the Montreal Concords against the Toronto Argonauts, Montreal will have a 2-point edge in the race for third place in the Eastern Conference standings. Montreal also won the first game of the year by 18 points. 28-10 was the score. So Toronto tomorrow, in the event that they should, at the conclusion of the season, wind up in a tie for third place, would have to win that game by more than 18 points to displace the Montreal Concord. This is Paul Bennett's third interception of the afternoon.
Boy, what an interception that was, too. He came across there in the middle and scooped that ball with his left hand. He looks like he's niftier now than he's ever been. See J.C. Watts coming back, and for all intents and purposes, he's got a guy open in the middle, and Paul Bennett just comes right from his middle rover position there, playing center field, and scoops that ball with his left hand.
And that's number 45 on the season for the Ticats. And the Hamilton Ticats are certainly substituting freely.
To back you up when you go down when the score's at a hand, right? Come on.
The ball carrier that time,
Steve Jackson.
Steve Jackson. He normally is a backup slot back. And he also backs up both Johnny Shepard and David Graffey. Pass is complete. Champion takes it out of bounds. First down, Hamilton.
That's one of the most effective plays, I think, in football. Get into a balanced formation and just look over at that defense and see which cornerback or which safety back is most vulnerable, and then just sprint to one side or the other and bend out those two receivers. Give them the ball. Bobby Taylor caught 400 of those for us when we were coaching at the Argos.
At Hamilton secondary discussing the number of interceptions they've got in the ball game. And, of course, Paul Bennett pointing out that they have established a league record. Scott Cawley is taken out of bounds by Chris Ziegler. There's also a penalty flag on the play. And the Ticats have not only broken the record established by British Columbia in 1983, they still have a game remaining.
Run the ball on the ground.
Look at Al Bruno said, keep the ball on the ground, run it on the ground.
Don't hit the knees, just run it.
Al knows that there may be some day when he'll be in the same position and he doesn't want to be having somebody rub it into him and run up the score. So Al is a very decent guy about things like that, too. He really means that.
Well, the Ottawa Rough Riders have had success against their two other Eastern opponents, Montreal and Toronto, but they have been blown out in both games against the Hamilton Tiger Cats. And those four guys, Grover Covington, Mitchell Price, and, well, that's an offensive player, Marv Alamang and Paul Bennett in behind them. But the front four of Covington, Price, Walker, and Sauvé have certainly exerted a lot of pressure, and the injuries to Walker and Sauvé have resulted in some changes, and Leon Lescavich has gone in on that front four for the Hamilton Tiger Cats and done a good job. 1:19 is the time remaining. This will be a pleasant trip home for the Hamilton Tiger Cats.
This is one of those trips that they wish they were in Vancouver or something so they could enjoy the long trip.
Well, I don't think we can say enough about the job that Al Bruno has done with the Hamilton Tiger Cats. He persevered early in the season when things were not going well. Porras throwing into the end zone, incomplete. It was intended for Steve Stapler.
Look, Al Bruno, I don't think liked that either because he didn't want him to throw the football. But you can't blame that Porras kid. He hasn't had an opportunity to play much this year. He is a quarterback and third and real long. And as long as you're going to go for it, why run for it? Let's try to get it in there for another touchdown. Look at Al. Didn't I tell you to run the football? Porras says, yeah, you told me, but I thought it was kind of a dumb play if I ran with 3rd and 14.
Instinctively, quarterbacks like to throw the ball, and Porras, who has not had much playing time this season, is not about to let an opportunity slip away. It's been total domination by the Hamilton Tiger Cats this afternoon at Lansdowne Park. They have shut down the Ottawa Rough Riders.
I'll tell you, they've made a believer out of me with that front four. I just couldn't believe that in the games that I didn't see them this year, when people told me that they only sent 4 guys and they got there continuously, that you could possibly do that and get by with it, because if nothing else, these guys are going to get tired. But boy, they're machines. All afternoon they've been in there and they've done the job. And that allows all those linebackers and deep backs to get back there and do their job.
Catterdown. And that play draws penalty flags from 3 officials.
Terry Laney, a little overzealous to get in there and get a piece of that tackle, came a little bit late.
That comes with 31 seconds remaining in the game. That's a big one. All the way to the 50-yard line of Hamilton. As we said earlier in the telecast, after the first few games of the year, there was speculation that Al Bruno might be the first coach to be fired in this 1985 season. That's the reason for the penalty. Terry Laney coming in just a little late. But Bruno hung tough with those troops, and as Ken Hobart got a chance to play and learn the Hamilton system and learn the offense, Cats began to turn things around from their very shaky start.
I'll tell you, Al Bruno did an excellent job of what most coaches have a difficult time doing under those same circumstances, and that's persevering. And he certainly has persevered through some real criticism and through some crisis with his players saying that his coaching staff wasn't capable of a whole lot of things, and they've proven a point, and it's good to see it happen that way.
This could be the final play of the ball game. J.C. Watt takes a couple of pretty good hits as he got to the 38, and that will be the ball game. Greg Gary is the man who made contact with the Ottawa quarterback, and the Hamilton Tiger Cats, with this 36-4 triumph, move into a tie for first place with Ottawa, but on the basis of having won the 2 regular season meetings with the Rough Riders, if the team should end up in a tie, would be awarded #1 spot in the Eastern Conference. The 2 quarterbacks exchanging pleasantries. Ken Hobart coming over from that Hamilton bench to talk to other members of the Ottawa Rough Riders. 36-4 the final score, and we'll be back with our Game Stars after this. And our Game Stars this afternoon: offensively, quarterback Ken Hobart; defensively, Paul Bennett. We said at the start of the ball game that these 2 people would have to play a key role in the Hamilton Tiger Cats' success, and indeed they did. Ken Hobart, it seems that each time we see you, you're improving.
Well, that's right. I've been seeing the defenses better and reading things better and starting to feel comfortable with the offense. And the last 3 or 4 games, our defense has put us in good situations, and we've been taking advantage of it.
Well, Ken, I saw you do a couple outstanding things this afternoon. That little up pass that you throw the stapler in the end zone was right on the money. But the thing that really impressed me more than anything this afternoon that you did was the way that you read those blitzes. I know that for a young quarterback, that's the most difficult thing, but you hit Rocky DiPietro on one and you hit Stapler on another. You're really picking those up, aren't you?
That's right. They tried the 3 safety blitz up the middle. I'm starting to see things like I said, and we got a couple of them we hit and a couple of them we just missed on. So if we can continue to execute and play well offensively, we'll be okay at the end.
Ken, you were telling me yesterday that it took you a few games to familiarize yourself with that Hamilton offensive scheme of things. When did you begin to really feel comfortable?
It took about 4 or 5 games, but early on, I was just doing things that I shouldn't have been doing, you know, and it just takes time at this position. And fortunately for the team, the coaching staff stuck with me and showed confidence in me, and I think it's starting to pay dividends.
Well, you know, Ken, they say that sometimes in practice you throw the ball at the ground and miss. But out here today, everything that you threw was pretty much on the money. And is there such a thing as a game player that just arises to the occasion and can throw the ball a lot better in a game situation than he can in practice?
Well, I think so. You know, I'm paid to play in games, and I seem to play fairly well. And I learn in practice to make mistakes, but I'd rather make mistakes in practice than at game time.
You were telling us that you have made return reservations to head back to that area around the Snake River a couple of days after the Grey Cup game. I think you've made a rather wise decision.
Right. Hopefully I did. I made reservations for the 26th to go back home in Idaho, and I'd like to say hi to everybody back home that's watching the game today.
All right, well, let's swing over to the man who has been to a Grey Cup before, Paul Bennett. Paul, that team record was certainly shattered today by that Hamilton Tiger Cat secondary.
Well, that was something now, Don, that we've been shooting for. We knew it was within our grasp. Today we wanted to come out, turn the ball over a lot, give our offense a chance to score some points, and it's just like we wrote it up.
Paul, you've been with some good football teams, and you've been to the Grey Cup and done some things, but have you ever been with a secondary since you've played football that wanted that ball up in the air as much as you guys want it up in the air now? It seems like you just dare people to throw that football so you can go get it.
Well, Leo, I have played on a lot of good teams. If you think at our back in '77 when you were coaching, we had an awful good secondary then. But I think you're correct in saying that this is probably the best secondary that I've played with. It's not only the players though. It's Rich Stubler and Ted Schmidt are putting together some great game plans, and we're just going after the football. And I think we have 44 interceptions, and it's a great testament to their work.
Well, enough about interceptions. Let's talk about punt returns. That 98-yarder of yours got things rolling in that first quarter.
Well,
Tell us about it, and we'll show it to you.
Well, I caught the ball here, and it was a red return, which was right, and it opened up like a garage door there, and it was great blocking on behalf of my teammates, and it was just a matter of just running the distance and beating Kenny Clark here, which surprised even myself. And as you probably know or don't know, it was my first punt return over 500 and some odd, so it was nice to get it done eventually.
Paul, you told me before the game that you thought you could play a couple more years if you didn't have to do all this punt returning. Well, after today, you're liable to have to do it for a couple more years.
Well, it was okay during the beginning, but near the end of the game there, I sort of got twisted up like a pretzel a little bit, and it was time to bring in Wayne Lee.
Paul, we remarked during the telecast, and I'm sure you've heard it during the course of this season, this seems to be a rejuvenated Paul Bennett this year.
Well, the way things are going, with the team defensively, it couldn't help it but have a good year. I don't know what happened. It's difficult to explain past years and what the difference this year. But I wanted to come in this year and have a good year so I could play a couple more years, or at least one at least. And it seems like everything has gone so perfectly well. It's like I'm overwhelmed, really.
Well, you look a lot happier too. I was noticing down there in the dressing room before the game. You say you weigh about 196 pounds now, and you look like you're really ready to hit somebody, play football, and you look like you did when you came out of Laurier several years ago.
Well, Leo, I'm having a lot of fun playing, and this team is just really, as you said, has been a whole new thing for me, a rejuvenation, a renaissance, whatever you want to call it, and I'm just having fun playing.
Well, it does look as though the Hamilton Tiger Cats are having fun playing, and you're certainly having a lot of success. And our Carling O'Keefe Sports Game stars this afternoon, quarterback Ken Hobart and safety Paul Bennett.